Good morning from UNESCO. Welcome to the sixth online workshop of the series Education for Sustainable Development and Lifestyles. I am Professor Zul Raza, Director of the International Islamic University in Malaysia, and I'm indeed very pleased to moderate today's session. First of all, I would like to invite Ms. Vibeke Jensen, Directors of Division for Peace and Sustainable Development at UNESCO, to give the welcoming remark. Please, Ms. Jensen.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Razak, and good afternoon, good evening, and good morning, and a very warm welcome to this, as you said, sixth edition of the UNESCO series of online workshops, which are focused on the transformative power of education for sustainable development for the world beyond COVID-19. I think we're all aware that we are experiencing a global threat of biodiversity loss, shrinking forests, climate change, and also food shortages. The impacts of many of these challenges have been exacerbated by the current COVID-19 pandemic. And we are more and more realizing that our lifestyle decisions are putting the planet at risk. By 2050, the world's population might reach 10 billion people. A rise in our population will also bring a higher demand for food, travel, and housing. And also an increasing number of people may be unable to meet their basic needs if we do not change course. If we don't change our production patterns and consumption needs, we would go beyond our ecological boundaries, requiring 4 planets instead of 1 to sustain our ways of living. There is an urgent need to reduce the negative impact of our lifestyles and consumption habits to ensure the equitable availability of resources for all people around the world. And sustainable living means understanding how our individual and collective choices impact the world around us, and also finding ways for everyone to live better. To build a more sustainable world, knowledge, values, attitudes, and behaviors need to change drastically, both at the individual and societal level. And in this regard, education for sustainable development is particularly relevant as it promotes knowledge, awareness, and action towards sustainability. To achieve the transformation needed within the very small window of opportunity we have, the new ESD for 2030 framework calls for structural changes as well as individual transformation. And for this, we need everyone on board, including governments, educators, NGOs, academia, and the private sector. And I'm happy, therefore, to welcome very diverse speakers to this workshop, including from the private sector. I hope that today's workshop will bring fruitful discussions and provide concrete examples on how education can promote sustainable lifestyles and lead transformation. And this is in the lead up to the UNESCO World Conference on Education for Sustainable Development, which I think you all know by now takes place mid-May, from 17th to 19th of May, virtually, but should have been in Berlin had we not had COVID-19. So I would very much like to take this opportunity to thank again the German Federal Ministry of Education and Research and the German Commission for UNESCO for their great partnership and continuous support, in particular in organizing the UNESCO World Conference and this series of online workshops. I look forward to a very fruitful discussion today, and I thank you all for being here with us. Thank you. What happened, June? Did we lose our moderator?
Hello, sorry, I think our moderator has a problem with the connection at the moment. So please allow me to take his place and continue down the program. So thank you very much, Viveke, for this introduction. And as Viveke has mentioned, today we will focus on education and lifestyles. So in particular, we will focus on the ways to promote sustainable lifestyles at different levels. And through our individual actions and behaviors, through school via whole institution approach, and also through the mobilization of the private sector. But before we begin the discussion, I would like to introduce to a tool that we would like to use during the session to engage as much as possible with our participants joining from all over the world. So we will be using Slido to collect your questions throughout the session. So please, if you could, you may wish to open your window to connect to slido.com and then enter the event code #T225. So you may use the code #T225, and with this Q&A function, you will be able to raise questions of the biggest interest, and you can also vote on the questions up to give them a like. So the most voted questions will be more likely to be posed to the participants. So with Slido, we can make sure that we will ask our panelists the questions that are most relevant to all of you. So please feel free to post questions already while we are speaking to the panelists. And if you have questions that are related to UNESCO's work on ESD and other resources, please also use the Zoom Q&A function or send an email to us at future.esd@unesco.org after the workshop. This email address will be also shown at the end of the session. So now that we are already ready to start our discussions, I have the pleasure to introduce the 5 panelists who will share their own views and experiences on education and lifestyle from their different perspectives, including the individual learnings, schools, and private sector. First of all, our first speaker will be Mr. Palmiro Ocampo, chef and founder of NGO Cocori Cocina Optima from Peru. Palmiro is the founder of 1,087 restaurants in Lima, Peru, and has worked in important restaurants around the world. And also, he is passionate advocate for sustainability and ending hunger and malnutrition. He's the presenter of Cocina con Cosa, a Peruvian television series, and into Peru's gastronomic boom to make viewers aware of good nutrition for the development of the country's people and its communities at large. So very welcome to have Palmiro. And then the next speaker will be Bridget Ringdell, an environmental education project manager of the Water Explorer Global Search for Sustainable Schools from the African Conservation Trust in South Africa. Bridget has worked for the past 17 years supporting ESD in South Africa through the implementation of the International Eco Schools Program, Water Explorer Program, and Global Search for Sustainable Schools project of the One Planet Sustainable Lifestyle and Education Program. Next, we will have the third speaker, Mr. Jan Letalek, Director of the Government and Public Affairs in Europe and the Middle East and Africa from the Lego Group. The Lego Group is a Danish family-owned company known for the iconic Lego bricks. I'm sure everybody knows. So Jan has more than 20 years experience working in the toy industry, and his role is to engage policymakers on sustainability and circular economy topics. For example, the Lego Group recently volunteered to join a European Commission's pilot on green consumption for a few weeks ago. So very good news, new news, and we hope to hear about the development from Jan. And the next speaker will be Miss Lisa Fiedler, head of Vaude Academy for Sustainable Business and member of the Vaude Sustainability team from Germany, a company that makes functional and innovative products for mountain and biking sports activities. Lisa is an economist specialized in development economics and sustainability and Vaude Corporate Development Manager. She's also an expert in sustainable business strategy management and sustainability reporting and management systems. And finally, we will have Mr. Tom Green, ecological economist, climate solutions policy analyst from the David Suzuki Foundation in Canada. Tom Green is a senior climate policy advisor at the David Suzuki Foundation and is a founding member of the Canadian Society for Ecological Economics, and has held positions in various universities, including the Universidad del Rosario in Bogota, Colombia, and 3 Vancouver area universities. So very excited to have all of these amazing speakers with us today. So thanks a lot for joining us. May I check if our moderator is back? If not, then let us proceed with the intervention from Palmiro. So Palmiro, to share, we would like to hear about your experience on food sustainability. Could you please share about a little bit about your own story, how you became engaged in the promotion of sustainability in your work as a chef? Palmiro, over to you.
Yes, of course. Well, it's okay if I share a screen.
Yes, we'll be able to show the screen on in a second. So please.
Perfect. Okay. Now I'm sharing screen. Let me know, please. You can see my slides?
Yes, we can see your slides.
Yes. Okay. Well, it all started in the kitchen of a school where I was instructor of gastronomy career. I went out of the traditional syllabus to make the most of each ingredient and avoid wasting while preparing delicious dishes for my students. I had no idea what the carbon footprint meant in 2011. Well, all this happened in that time. I didn't trash to the street, but didn't also know the effect that climate change had on our planet. But due to my work, I went to Denmark, in Copenhagen, to work in the kitchen of Noma restaurant. And I not only learned about culinary techniques and concepts in that kitchen, I also saw for the first time how an entire city was built with technology in mind. That led me to think and remember that in the country where the concepts of sustainability in modern Peru were little known and much less applied. But nevertheless, ancient Peruvians, like the Incas, had an immense respect for sustainability. So much so the Mother Earth, the sun, the moon were considered gods in my country, in the ancient Peru. Like the Pachamama or the god Inti. Inti means sun for in Quechua word. I asked myself at that point, why haven't we brought that up to date? So I thought about it and gave a different meaning to my way of cooking. I learned about circular economy from other professionals. So it was that of making recycling recipes in a cooking class. Together with my wife, Angel, we founded the whole organization to educate in food optimization through optimal cuisines since 2014. And that's come to this time. Well, we have this social program in the area of Lurin. We have 24 workshops. We went trained in this in the last year in the pandemic. We trained more than 178 women from these soup kitchens, and we avoid a lot of food waste, becoming food edible and nutritional food with using the whole parts of the ingredient in delicious recipes for these areas. And that's the starting point.
Mm-hmm. That's amazing. So now your work is going and growing, and so could you tell us a little bit about this concept that you bring, this optimal cuisine? We understand what exactly does that mean, and also I understand that you're working with your NGOs. Could you tell us a little bit about your work there as well?
Definitely. We call it the multiplication of the ingredient, because with this concept, which is a very practical way to cook, and it's not a new way, but we gave it this concept, and now it looks like a new way of cooking. So as you see in the slide, you can see also a regular ingredient like a beetroot or a plantain, but they codify in different parts, and every part had different nutritional facts and also different textures and flavors, and you can have more yield of the ingredient using the whole. So with all that in mind, the first part that I've been telling you of the start, well, with that all in mind, we realized that the optimal cuisine should not be left alone in the world of fine dining only, you know, because it was a way of cooking that generate higher food yields. That is why we decided to create this NGO through the social program Good Kitchens. We call it Kind or Good Kitchens, which is the Cocinas Bondadosas in Spanish. This in honor of the women that work there, you know, kind kitchens, because this woman, the women are very kind to make this in his community. So the more important restaurants in Peru for us is this kind of restaurants, you know, the popular dining rooms, where we teach mothers to take advantage of the food that they donate, the different enterprises and business models. They donate food for these women, and we teach us how to take advantage of all the ingredients. So we have been training with Sodexo, which is a company from France, but had these areas also in Peru, and it's our partnership. And with the Stop Hungers, also from France, been for 4 years in this collaboration, creating this kind kitchen social program. Sorry, my little duck.
No problem. Yeah. So, yeah, with your dog in the background, that really gives that live the sense that we are also connected between Paris and Peru. So, yeah, that's definitely amazing.
It's a morning call of my dog, because now we're in the morning. Well,
okay.
We have been training for 4 years. This pandemic did not stop us.
Sure.
We migrate to a virtual platform, and we have trained this number of women, as you see in the first slide. Peru is a country recognized worldwide for its gastronomy, but it also has pending challenges in the fight against hunger and food waste. Well, all these limitations,
sure.
We try to join team with biochemists to analyze the nutritional value of the parts of the food that are regularly discarded. And the most important thing that was we discovered that in these parts there are even more nutritional facts than the parts that we eat in the ingredients. So
sure. So you're discovering how to make best use of the ingredients available.
Yeah, and we recognize our limits and get in touch with different specialists.
Perfect.
So, just to finish, well, nowadays the women we have trained work with us and training new soup kitchens in no formal education and informal education in social networks. Well, Hori means gold to everyone. It's an ancient Quechua word, and we believe that is optimal cuisine is the map for a more sustainable Peru that keeps a beautiful treasure.
Thank you very much, Palmiro. That's wonderful, and how that also is in the process of development. I think that's amazing. So now I think we would now move on to invite our next speaker, Bridget, on board. Bridget, please, I would like to now invite you to share your experiences in promoting sustainable lifestyles in whole school approach in the different schools in South Africa. Could you please tell us what you do? And sorry, before, I think we are quite tight in terms of the time, so if you could kindly keep your responses short, that would be great. Over to you, Bridget.
Hi, everyone from South Africa. Basically, we support schools that are committed to better environmental learning and management with practical in-classroom lessons around different sustainability issues. I'm not sure if the the slides. So if we can move on to the next slide. The next slide will show you an example of kind of the action projects that we help develop in schools. I don't know if it can go on to the next slide if possible. If the person controlling the slides can just click on. But basically we work as far as possible to adopt a whole school approach in terms of ESD. So in the top left-hand photograph, one back please, the top left-hand photograph, there was a kitchen where in one of our schools, ladies cook for 1,200 learners a day in very smoky, unhealthy conditions. They have to bend over, they have to chop wood, and it's quite back-breaking work. And there's something like 10,000 schools in South Africa that cook like this. So we worked with that school to look for alternative solutions, luckily through some of our project funding. And we found the fuel-efficient mashesha stove in the right-hand photograph. And there you can see immediately there's much less smoke produced. So the environmental costs were much better because a mashesha stove uses 50% less of the wood fuel and burns much more efficiently. And of course, there wasn't the smoke that the cooks were inhaling. On top of that, the school was saving money and obviously less wood was being cut down. And the cooks were delighted because they could actually leave school an hour earlier than normal. If we move on to the next slide, it demonstrates how, so we don't just work with the staff, we very much work with the learners. And important to understanding solutions to climate change, if we can move on to the next slide, is to involve learners. And this involves really the crux of our project, which is engaging learners in lessons around sustainability. So in this case, we did a series of 3 lessons that span 3 to 4 hours each on different elements of the climate crisis. So if we can go to the next photograph, it involved understanding the impacts, the causes, understanding the simple science like the greenhouse effect, and then understanding why the solution of the mashesha stove was so appropriate for their school, and also introducing other solutions like solar ovens in that photograph. And this school actually built their own solar oven out of waste, and they use it quite often for cooking their food. Linked to climate crisis and ESD, of course, during times of COVID, keeping hands clean was a huge issue all over the world. And we try to be innovative in technologies as well. And dealing with waste, plastic waste, for example. These are tippy taps, which we find are more effective. And also, you don't have to depend on costly and questionable sanitizers that kind of kill every bacteria. So these use 40 times less water than if someone was washing their hands under a running tap. And of course, this was accompanied by a lesson on maths, where learners worked out how much water would be used if every learner at school washed their hands under running taps. And it was found to be 40 times more than under a tippy tap, 2 liters versus 100 mils per wash. So these are the examples, simple examples of the kinds of work we support in schools.
Perfect. Thanks a lot, Bridget. And I love these photos. They're amazing. So maybe just quickly, because of time, may I invite you to maybe share 1 or 2 points of the lessons learned in about 30 seconds?
Yes, sure.
Sorry.
No, not at all. The most important thing is to have buy-in from the school, okay? And the principal is key here. Without a supportive principal, your project is dead in the water, and relationships. We've been successful in these schools because we've developed relationships and we visit them physically. We don't send manuals to them. We don't send books to them. We go in and we build a relationship with them around a project.
Perfect. Thanks a lot, Bridget, and thanks for this amazing project. Now I think our moderator is back. Zul, are you there?
Yes, I am. I'm not too sure what happened, but yes, I'm back. Thank you very much.
So over to you to the next speaker, I think, from Jan, I think.
Okay. I must apologize for that, but let me now thank you, Juan, for this, and let me invite Mr. Jan to talk about his experience with the Lego group. I think all of us are quite familiar with what Lego is all about and how he has changed the way to package his product after receiving demands from society and specifically from the children. We would like to hear what is happening at your end, Jan. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Zul. And maybe to set the scene, I would like to read a letter that we received from a kid in Germany. Dear Lego team, my name is Olis, and I have an idea for you that you could pack the Lego in paper bags. That would be better for the environment. Sincerely, Olis. And as you can imagine, at Lego, our role models are children, and we want to leave them a better planet than the one we inherited. And we can go to the next slide. So our experts have been working hard, to transition our business towards more sustainable solutions. And we've made some progress balancing our carbon emission through investment in renewable energy, by transitioning some of the oil-based plastic materials that we are producing for our bricks with more sustainable bio-based solutions, such as these new materials that we're using for certain of our Lego bricks. And we are also trying and piloting new business and circular economy model. I'd like to give the example in the US and Canada, where we launched a replay program where we prompt children and their families to send the Lego bricks that they no longer use to charities for free. And the charity then can distribute those Lego bricks to children in need of play. But we are also extremely motivated and inspired by all the letters and comments that we receive from children. They want action. They want things to happen a bit more faster. There is a move that we've made recently following the conversation we've had with them, that they want us to transition out of those single-use plastic bags that we have in our Lego boxes. So the first point I wanted to make is it all starts about listening the children. The second thing is about involvement, and we work with them across geographies in the US, in Canada, in Germany, in China, to pilot new solutions for such packages. And what they told us is that paper is a much better solution for two reasons. It is recyclable. It is made of sustainable paper, but also it enhanced the play experience, which for us is really important because they find it easier to open a bag, a paper bag, instead of a Lego bag. And so after working with them, and that's the journey we are in, we are doing that transition towards a paper solution. But there's a third element I'd like to cover this afternoon, which is empowerment. And I would like to share my personal experience. We have globally a number of programs that we call Build the Change or First Lego League. But I did a program for a week with the European School in Brussels. And I gave the children a challenge, which was make your school greener. And for a week, they went out, they interviewed people, they worked in groups, they identified a challenge, they created a solution using Lego bricks, but not only Lego bricks. And at the end of the week, they presented their solutions to the parents. And as it is the European School, the parents are also the policymakers working for the European institutions. And through the week, we also invited guest speakers, such as the climate advisor to the former president of the Commission, to create that dialogue between the teachers, the pupils, the students, and the parents. And I think at Lego, we clearly believe in the power of learning through play, because that helps really identify, learn, and propose solutions to complex environmental challenges. So I'll probably stop here.
I'm very excited to know, particularly from the private sector, there's a lot to do with consumption and production. Can you tell us a little bit what is your take as far as moving forward, as in taking sustainable forward from the private sector?
Yeah, I think the challenge we face is that there is a lack and no common understanding about certain concepts around what is sustainable, what is a circular economy model. There is no shared understanding, no definition of what it is. And I think there is a need to educate the pupils and the students to, to come up with such definitions, because they are evolving over the years. I think sustainability was pretty much 10 years ago about the environment, but today, it is about, societal impact. So those things are evolving, and we need people to learn about such concepts. I think if we ask participants, to share the definition of what is circularity or sustainability, we will get many different responses. The other thing I see a role for education is about, schools are teaching knowledge, but I think there is a need to teach skills. And in particular, when it comes to complex problem solving, those are the 21st century skills that we speak a lot about. And I think, the education can really help them there, because things are not simple, and we need, pluridisciplinary approach to those difficult challenges. There are tensions between protecting the climate, to give an example, protecting the climate, protecting the consumer, and circular economy. You can make an improvement in one of these, but miss the goal in the other one. So that's why a pluridisciplinary approach is needed.
Okay, thank you very much, Jan. Good luck on your endeavor for this. Yeah, can we go now to the next speaker, which is Miss Lisa Fedler from WODE, I think, if I'm not mistaken, a German company that stands for environmentally friendly products. Can I invite Lisa for this?
Yeah, hello from my side.
Please go ahead, Lisa.
Yeah, I'm very excited to be in this call with over 500 people from all over the world and still be at home. That's a really great opportunity. Yeah, if you could kindly also share my screens, because I want to give you a very short introduction of VOD. That's currently the correct pronunciation of our company's name. We are an outdoor brand, so we produce equipment and clothing for hiking, ski touring, biking, but also for urban commuting. And we understand us as part of the textile industry. So then if you think about sustainability and about sustainable lifestyle, we have to accept we are part of the problem also. If you think about climate crisis, microplastic, this has a lot to do with our industry. And we accept this, that we are part of the solution problem, but we also want to be an active contributor towards solution of such global challenges. And so since 2009, we gave ourselves the company-wide vision. We want to do sustainable business through and through. We want to contribute towards sustainable lifestyle of our consumers with our products and services. And we understand sustainability as something you cannot choose as a company, but it's part of your corporate responsibility. So it's your responsibility as a company to do sustainable business. And there are two principles that guide us on everything we're doing. And the first is we want to produce products with the smallest possible footprint. And on the other side, our products and services and the way we are doing business shall create the highest, greatest possible quality of life for our consumers, but also for our employees and for all the people that are working in our supply chain. And
okay.
Yeah.
Can I ask you very quickly, I understand you have got an academy. What does an academy play a role in this?
Yeah, so in order to contribute to sustainable lifestyle, one focuses on our products, but then we also came to the conclusion it's not only about us in order to make this transformation happen. We need to involve everyone. So we need to involve other businesses. This is why we founded the Academy, and we provide consulting for other companies on this path of sustainability. And we have the impression that at least in the education system in Germany, sustainability is not anchored systematically. And this is why we provide educational formats for schools and universities, for example. We just set up a massive open online course on sustainable business, and we're about to write a case study, a teaching case study together with another university in order to really bring sustainability and the complexity and also the solutions of sustainable business to the young generation, because they will be the future managers.
Thank you. I think it's very exciting to see business and education coming together to give a new view as far as education is concerned. Thank you very much. Can I now move to the last but not least speaker, Mr. Tom Green. Tom, you know we are running out of time, so I'm sorry you are the last speaker. Could you just enlighten us the things that we do in a brief way?
Certainly, Zul. Thank you so much. And it's great to follow some great speakers. I was very moved by Palmiro's story about food in the kitchen. And so I'm going to step back and be perhaps more of a theoretical level. I come as a background in ecological economics. And from that background, one is always mindful of the planetary boundaries and ecological processes that act on constraints on human activities. And that's how I approach education for sustainable development and look at the transformation, the lifestyle transformation that must enable very quickly. And our economic and policy frameworks grew up long ago and have for too long have ignored ecological realities. But now we're seeing the signs of breakdown. So the economic theory has been too focused on economic growth, on wealth creation, on the gains from trade, blind on those biophysical foundations, and also the fact that it is the rich of the world who are putting the most strain on nature and causing these grave social injustices. And as the youth climate activist Greta Thunberg so aptly said, we must not be seduced by fairy tales of endless economic growth. So we need a new economic blueprint that takes more account of the extraction that has been supercharged by consumerism, the waste streams that impact vulnerable communities, or the landscapes that are left behind, and must also have more empathy for the fate of people around the world. Yeah. So I think if the education for sustainable development is to succeed, it must equip learners to better understand the limitations of our economic models, the skewed rules of market economies, and it must equip people to better examine how laws and regulations might be rewritten, how government budgets might be reallocated, and to participate and collaborate in this much needed course correction. And as a result of that, the systems change can be a flourishing life that is enabled by modest consumption.
Tom, if I can cut you in, I think the question of values, the question of culture, how does it get embedded in the things that we are doing so that we don't just talk about materialistic, but something that to do with values and culture at the same time? How does it blend in?
Yeah, no, I think that's very important, because the values that have guided us of recent have come, as I said, from this kind of marketplace. Here at the David Suzuki Foundation, the co-founders of Canada's largest environmental charity, they really took inspiration from the Indigenous people whose unceded territories we live and work on in Vancouver here. And these Indigenous nations have generations of experience being stewards to these West Coast, Rain Coast ecosystems, in observing and valuing the natural cycles that they see around them, in seeing their place as part of rather than separate from nature, in emphasizing reciprocity and mutual aid, and where wealth was accumulated, but then redistributed. So we take that in the foundation in terms of our work, in terms of trying to promote circular economy and seeing our place as one with nature and in restoration and all those kind of things. And certainly the COVID pandemic has reinforced the fact that we're all in this together.
Yeah. Thank you very much. I think we have listened to a spectrum of experiences across the world, from private sector to industry and also to education and stuff like that. So I think there may be a lot of questions that needs to be asked. So we will go into the next session of Q&A. And I will find if there's anybody who wants to put up the questions, we will try and ask this question to the speakers. But to start off with, maybe if I can just ask all the speakers, what are your lessons that you want to put forward as far as the consumption is concerned? I see people are still doing the same level of consumption, except that the delivery is different. People talk about online things, but the way people consume is still very much the same. What is your take on that?
Can I
yes, please.
answer maybe? Yeah, I think particularly where we work in South Africa, we've got a huge division between and cross-section of schools, from well-resourced schools to under-resourced schools. When you address consumption, it has to be contextually relevant. It's no good like trying to tell children in a rural setting that they must take short showers because they don't even have access to showers if they're going to save water, or that they must eat less processed foods because of the environmental impact. So I think you've got to be contextually relevant, and then if it resonates with people and there are examples that you can follow, and people out there that are doing those things in their communities, you draw on those people. And certainly indigenous knowledge systems are very important here when trying to motivate and to compel people to do things differently as well. Because as Tom mentioned, there is a wealth of indigenous knowledge, and people used to do things in far more sustainable ways than now. So that's my input there. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Bridget. Any other speakers who wants to add on to this?
Yeah, I have a thought regarding consumption patterns. So when we decided in 2009 to start the whole transformation of the company, basically there were no consumers asking us to do that. It was in contrast that most people were quite skeptical. What are you doing there? Is your waterproof jacket still waterproof? Is it made out of sustainable materials? And since then, we, at least in our market, and which is our core market is Germany, Switzerland, and Austria, we see that consumption patterns shift, and there are more people that really want to consume with a good cautious, who want to consume products that are environmentally and fair produced. And even the last year, the Corona crisis, supported this trend more and more. So we see some shifts in consumption patterns that makes us more hopeful that people around the world start more and more to think about what they need, what makes them happy, because that's why we consume. We want to consume something that makes us happy, but if we consume so much, we don't have any time to enjoy our consumption.
Okay. I guess the question of values come in. What is happiness in that particular context? Now, I'm getting a series of questions. I would like to give as much question as possible. So if you can just answer as briefly as possible, so that we can cover as much. One is for Palmiro, and then the people are asking when you mentioned about work in the kitchen, they were wondering what sort of contact you have with the farmers as well, and how do work get organized with them?
Yes. Well, farmers in my country, and also all the producers, are very, very linked to the communities in Lurín that where the communities we work there, because actually Lurín it's a farmer community, and they grow general ingredients, but the thing there is that they have no opportunity to eat his own ingredients, because it's more they think it's better to sell the ingredients and to have more money to buy more food that is processed food, which is more quantity, more yield of food, but not quality of ingredients. And that's the thing in Peru. We have all this biodiversity, mega biodiversity, and we have access to these ingredients. And some communities very close from Lima have the opportunity to grow themselves these ingredients, but they don't have the mindset to eat it because they prefer to sell it. So that's an important link about sustainability, because as Tom said and Jan said, the goal of sustainability is also the goals need to be very linked with the problems of the society, you know, and how to avoid them and how to give us opportunities to create new links.
Okay.
That's our experience there.
Okay. Thank you very much. I've got one for Jan. People are wondering, do you recycle the actual bricks, or do you donate the actual brick to somebody else so that, you know, there's an equal sharing around the world as far as Lego is concerned?
So the replay model that we are exporting across the world is about reuse. And I will answer a question from the chat. I think we are extremely proud of the durability of our product. You know, they can last for decades and, you know, don't go to waste. But ultimately, when there is an end of life, we want to make sure that we benefit from this durability of the product, to look into new model and keep them into the reuse, so that we have a circular approach. Recycling will only come as, you know, a fallback approach, but the key priority for us now is to keep them into circulation and give them a second life.
How long do you normally keep them in circulation, Jan?
Well, I can say decades, because you know, that's the experience and the feedback that we get from our insights. Mm-hmm. And if you use the bricks from the late 50s, they still work with the bricks that we do today. And we know from inside as well that people don't throw the Lego bricks; they give it to their children, to their families, and also there's a second-hand business around that. So the bricks stay in circulation. Okay.
Thank you very much. Lisa, there's one question which is kind of, I think, precarious for you. How do you balance between profit and charity when you've got business and also academy at the same time? How do you balance these two as a CEO?
Yeah, so it's a very good question. And I think it's a topic we are concerned with every day. So as far as for the academy, we set it up as a social business model. So on the one hand, we consult other companies and therefore we get very well paid, and we use then this money in order to finance our educational products. And if it comes to Whole Day, sustainability and producing sustainable products often comes with additional costs. And well, we are a profit-oriented company, so at the end we have to balance it out, and our market is super price sensitive, so we cannot link the additional costs to the product prices. So yeah, we sometimes cut our marketing budget, for example, in order to make it possible. But the good thing is, yes, there are additional costs, but on the other hand, this path and this sustainable business vision, it really makes us economically successful, because this is what people want, and this is what the planet needs. And so I think you need to be brave as a company on this path, but it's manageable and it makes a lot of fun.
Yeah, thank you very much. I also want to ask, maybe sounds a little bit personal. You are the youngest in the list of speakers. Is your views on sustainable development kind of different from the other generations that you are dealing with?
I don't really know. Though I think I get my views and my values from my parents, and they are of course an older generation than me. So yeah, but what I experience, I like the young people in Germany and around the world. I was very impressed when 2019 they all stood up for Fridays for Future, and every Friday they went on demonstrating. So I think the upcoming generation, they are a bit more strict than my generation and my parents' generation, and I really love that.
Okay, we will have a whole hope from your generation, to change things around. There's a question for Bridget. This question, Bridget, is about whose role is it to balance between developed countries and developing countries as far as lifestyles is concerned? Is there a way of making these differences?
Sorry, just can you repeat that? Whose role is it? Is it to diminish the differences between developed and developing countries in terms of ESG?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I think it's well known that, you know, if everyone had to have the sort of average lifestyle of, you know, people like us, we'd need probably 3 to 4 planets, maybe not, we're at least environmentally in tune in comparison to other people who are in our sort of income bracket or have our sort of lifestyles. But certainly there is massive inequality, and it is about distribution of resources as much as it is to do with population. But distribution of resources is a key thing here. And I think there has to be, I mean, I don't know who has to make those decisions. I don't know. It has to be done, you know, developed worlds have to see that, or developed nations have to see that there has to be a little bit more give to those that are trying to aspire to similar lifestyles. You can't prevent people or even condone, or you can't, you can easily understand why someone who doesn't have wants what the average person in Europe or the States has, and you can't deny them that. So yes, I think it's about distribution of resources, and I don't know who that's up to. I think it's up to developed nations to see that and to respond and make trade agreements that are fairer and look at those kinds of things in terms of climate targets, all that kind of thing. They have to be adjusted, and I think they do look at that kind of thing, but it's such a difficult one to tackle. Yeah.
Tom, I've got a question for you, and I think this is basically what we are talking about. Yeah, if you have listened to all these varieties of experiences, which is real on the ground, people in the academia, people like me and people like you, how much of this actually translate into our curriculum, our pedagogy, and even our structure as an education institute? How much of this actually contributes to this?
Yeah, I think that's a very good question, because we have to remember that the world that we have now is the output of all the engineers, the business students, and so on, who have worked together, have come out of those educational systems and have made very successful corporations, but these corporations have been causing a very grave footprint on the planet. And I think that's one reason we need to dissolve the walls between the academy, between educational institutions, and get people much more involved in doing ecological restoration projects, and doing projects like Palmiro's project or Bridget's project, where they're involved with learning with the community, understanding real problems, and engaging with the needs of the world in different ways. And so much of what our educational institutions are doing is producing marketers who help increase the needs that people feel so they consume more. And so we need to turn that around and put sustainability as the predominant or prevailing value that informs everything else.
Okay, thank you very much. We do not have much time. I would just want to run for each of you, if you can give me one last statement of what you think we ought to be focusing on as far as this session is concerned, then we can wrap up the session. Can I start with Palmiro? What is the one thing that you think we should be focusing on as a takeaway from this session?
I think it's about aspirations, social aspirations, because the problem that I found in different communities, in income communities, is that they aspire the same things that the most wealthy people have, and there's this wrong message about the wealthy people had. It's about to consume, and it's about to consume processed food, you know, and that's the thing that the people from poor areas have these aspirations to eat the same, and maybe different kind of conducts and customs are start from there. So we need to change that, and it's a very fine tissue that we need to get there.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bridget, can you have your thoughts on this?
Sorry, my line has been unstable. Can you just repeat, because I couldn't hear any of that?
What would be one point for the takeaway from this session as far as you're concerned?
Sure. Again, it's. I think, you know, ESG is something that's not exclusive to any sector. In fact, education for sustainable development for me is something that should be built into everything. And so all education systems should have it built into it. And when you get to tertiary level, if you are doing a degree in medicine or engineering or economics, there should be a module or a few modules by just default on this. It's far too pivotal to the future of the planet. And these examples today are just fantastic to see that this kind of thing is infiltrating into a multitude of sectors. I work exclusively in schools, so it's wonderful to see how the food industry has taken it on, as well as Vorde, for example, and Lego. I mean, I'm thrilled by those two examples. It really does give me hope that it's been taken seriously. So let you guys be the examples. Yeah, we need to see more of this. Thanks.
Thanks, Bridget. Lisa, your turn. Can you unmute, please?
Yeah. Sorry, I just found the wrong button. Yeah, I think what I take away from the session is that there are a lot of people interested in the topic. I'm still thrilled seeing you all here, and there are great examples. And I think we all need to be a bit more brave and pushing the topic forward, everybody from his side. And we should really use synergies between educational system, private sector, NGOs, and really work all together in order to bring sustainability into the education system, into the business cycle, into academia, etc.
Thank you for that. Jan, what is your take on this?
My take is maybe that we are missing someone today, maybe, the young generation. I think we've seen recently how powerful, the young generation can be to drive change.
You are right on. Yeah,
and I think, by nature, they are much more creative than we are, and we are facing complex challenges, and we need creative solutions. So let's give them a voice, empower them, and I think they can help us drive the change.
Yeah, and certainly Lego is one of those that bring the young generations out. I think most of them love Lego to start off with. Yeah, Tom, are you ready for the last wisdom, as it were?
Sure, I am. I have the embarrassing situation in Canada here. We have people buy the worst cars, the most fuel intensive, most polluting cars on the planet. It's a terrible thing. Now, I could try and go and convince every single individual to buy a better car, to buy a zero emission car, or to use public transit. But that's why I focus on changing the rules, because if we force the companies that are producing cars to produce zero emission cars, then the consumer will only have choices that are less impactful on the climate. And if we get each city building out good public transit systems and better, walkable, bikeable communities, then we won't depend on cars so much. So I think we shouldn't put too much on the individual, but we should help individuals change the rules of the game by which we all live.
Yeah, thank you very much. I think that's a good way to end. In the end of the day, we decide what we want. And I think the market will just follow accordingly if you have enough force with the people like Lisa and many of the things that you have been doing. I'm afraid we have to end this. I regret that the session is so short, given some of the technical issues that we have got. So thank you very much, all of you. I think we have learned a lot within an hour, and I hope many of this will now come back to us and to relook at it as far as we are moving into the sustainable development goals moving forward. Yeah, I'm to remind you that there will be the last workshop. I think the 7th workshop, which is on April 14th, and registrations I think are already available for those of you who wants to share your ideas on this. So please log on and visit the UNESCO website, or by emails you can contact us and make sure that this discussion go on as far as it's okay. So the recording is of this workshop in English, in French, and in German will be made through the UNESCO YouTube channel. A link will be shared with all participants who sign up for this workshop. So on that note, I would like to end this session with great thanks to all of you, including the organizers, for making it happen. And I think we have learned a lot, and hopefully this will change the world in the years to come. So thank you very much. Take care, stay safe, and be sustainable as much as possible. Thank you.